Hello, sisters. Welcome to part 2 of this mini course. This part will be exploring the shadows of sovereignty, both what it's like not to be a sovereign being, and also what is it like to overpower and not know the boundaries of sovereignty. So I invite you to pull out your journal, and we'll get started with a few journal prompts to get you activated and focused, and really to start stirring in what is your current process with sovereignty. You're going to discover through this experience, both through this course and also through the duration of your life, that sovereignty is something that takes time for us to really work with, to embody, and to understand of what it means to us personally and how we can show up as sovereign beings in every area of our life. And what I have noticed is that my idea of sovereignty tends to change depending on what is going on in my personal life and my professional life, and also what is the current process that I'm experiencing. So one moment, sovereignty can look very expansive. The other moment, sovereignty can look more internal. So for our first prompt, this second portion is going to really be focused on the shadows. So let's get into our inner process and create the space for us to explore what our shadows are and what is this inner process that's taking place internally right now. So the first prompt for you is, what are the different ways that I haven't been standing in my sovereignty? And you might hear different sounds from Bali life outside, and I just would like for you to, just to be aware, but also just let it go. If some repetitive sound is coming off, just know this is the environment, the vibes of Bali, and I hope that they're not distracting, but also they are in the space here. So, again, the first prompt is, what are the different ways that you haven't been in your sovereignty? And you could just pause the video right now and just take some time to sit with this prompt. Okay. So, another aspect of the shadow of sovereignty is when we are afraid of our sovereignty. So this is having to do with fear of sovereignty, fear of being empowered, fear of our independence, and fear of how the world reacts to this energy. So my next question for you is, how have I held myself back from being in power? And that could be through people-pleasing, that could be through giving away your power to others, that could be from a space of wanting to be invisible, being afraid of being seen in your power. Whatever it looks like for you, let's just take some time to sit with this. So you can pause it right now. Okay, welcome back. So the next portion is, how have my parents conditioned me from an early age to be with my power and space of sovereignty? How have I experienced them in their sovereignty or lack thereof? Both my mother, father, guardians, just family members that I was close to. And also, how have they influenced my sense of sovereignty and power early on in my life? So this question is really important because it talks about the nuclear family, the family unit that we grow up in. When we're very young and very impressionable, we get to learn what is it like to be in our power or to be in lack of power. So there's a process that unfolds that plants these seeds that dictates how it is that we show up in our power or how we don't show up. And that is the norm that gets created for us. So during this journaling, during your asking yourself these questions, I really encourage you to challenge these beliefs and to really tune into, is this true for me? Does this speak to me now? Or is this something that was just conditioned? Is this something that was taught? So I encourage you to pause this and we'll come back to the other question in a moment. Okay. The next portion is a little more global. So we're going from the nuclear to the community, to culture, to society. So how has society shaped your view on sovereignty, and both the highlights of it and also the shadows? Like, what is in the culture that you were born into, in the society that you live in your community, at your home, like wherever it is that you're stationed, and that you've grown up in. What has been the driving force? What has society taught you about what is acceptable, what isn't acceptable in being in your power, and how is sovereignty, both the positives and the negatives of it? So how has your society shaped you in working with sovereignty? And you can pause the video right here. Okay, so on to the next. So this journal prompt is there to speak to your desires. So what is it that you would love to experience in terms of being empowered in your life? So this could be a number of things. And, don't limit yourself to just one or two. Really allow yourself to explore what that looks like. That could be cultivating a beautiful partnership where I'm surrendering and I'm feminine, but I'm also empowered in the choices that get to be made and in how we interact with one another and what is the life that we live. Or it can be, I want to create a sustainable business. I want to be a businesswoman. I want to be a leader in my community. I want to really empower myself into the next evolution of my sovereignty. It could be, I want to travel the world alone. I want to be a sovereign being and explore the world, or explore my home country from the space of inner authority. And yeah, just allow yourself to have some fun with this and play around with what does that look like for you? What is it that you actually desire to experience within sovereignty? And you can pause right here. Okay, so the next portion is, what are you afraid of? What is the fear that you have that if you're a sovereign being, so the prompt can go, if I am sovereign, then I fear that I will blank. And that could be, if I'm sovereign, I feel that I will push men away and not be desirable by others, or come off too independent and too strong. And I apologize for the sound effects that are in the background. But so basically it's like, what are those fears that are getting activated in you when you hear this? So another one could be, I am afraid that if I'm sovereign, that I will not be feminine. I will be too strong. I will be too masculine. So then the question is, how can you be both sovereign and both empowered in your expression, in your beingness, and also to be soft and fluid and playful and feminine? Those are extremely important concepts to embody simultaneously within both of those fields. So I'll just give you a moment, and we'll take a second here to drop in and write this journal prompt. Okay, and so for our last journal prompt, I invite you to feel into how are you taking your power back right now? So you can make a list of people, a list of experiences, a list of either specific situations or something that's more global, something that's more encompassing, like an umbrella-esque term and focus. And this is just basically to look into where are the different places you've given your power away and where are you reclaiming it. So this is a two-part question. The first part is where am I taking my power back? And the second part is, how am I taking my power back? And the how is extremely important. Do you do this by force? Do you do this by speaking your truth? Do you do this by actually surrendering and letting go and taking your power back by not giving your energy to something? There's so many different ways that we can either engage or disengage from that space of sovereignty. And I will definitely talk more about this now at a later section. Right now, I really encourage you to brainstorm. This is you starting to really take time to tune into what all these things mean to you and how they speak to you and what is it that you choose to do with them. So we're going to pause right here and just take a moment to answer those questions. Okay, so this portion, the second portion, has really been about the journaling prompts. I really wanted to get you to start thinking, to start feeling in what is alive for you and how this work speaks to you directly. One of the main portions and aspects of sovereignty is being our own inner authority. And I want to speak to that for a moment because I believe that our own sense of inner authority is what drives our whole life. At any given point, we can give our power away to another. We can give it as an offering. We can give it out of fear. We can give it out of manipulation and desire for control. We can give it from our love and wanting to share, but not really knowing what we're really doing, not really having those healthy sense of boundaries and not realizing how it's actually negatively impacting us. And we can do it out of conditioning just because we don't know how else to do it. We never learned. So there's so many different ways of giving our inner authority to someone else, giving our power away outside of ourselves, or embodying our power, taking our power back. And when I said this, I actually pulled the microphone to me, so I'm going to casually hold it as a symbol. I work with symbols a lot, and the microphone is representing of speech, of projection, of voice, of being louder, cranking up the volume, and also taking authority. As I hold this microphone, I'm feeling in my body that I have the means of being heard without having to project my voice, without having to scream, without having to extend outside of myself. So my inner authority right now, the embodiment of my inner authority is coming through as holding a microphone and using a tool to really establish this inner authority and establish this resonance and my expression. So my question to you is, what are the different tools that you have at your disposal to really accent your inner authority? So in this particular situation, for me, it happens to be this microphone. And, it could be a number of things for you. And, I really encourage you to get creative with it. The inner authority can be, for example, going to social media in today's day and age. It could be my inner authority is my Facebook page or the Facebook group that I'm in or that I've created, or just various means of, outlets and platforms where my voice is heard. That is my access to inner authority. It's a tool. It doesn't embody your inner authority. It is actually just an extension of it. It's something that you could use to highlight your inner authority. For example, another thing is let's go back to the basics. What it is that you're choosing to eat, how you're choosing to nourish yourself. Your inner authority stems from your appetite or from a specific diet that you're in. Or, you get a menu and you choose what it is that you want. And so I'm talking about more of like this, the basic, the foundational, almost like the three-dimensional model of inner authority. But then I'm going to, move up from there. So once you, for example, you choose from the menu what sounds good, what lights up your taste buds, what feels good for you to receive. And then from that point on, we move forward. I was just like, okay, my inner authority of making important life decisions for me. What are those tools? What is the support system to living in my inner authority? And for example, that could be, if you have a 9-to-5 job, giving a resignation letter because you want to move somewhere. That is, like your notice of moving from your residence in a 30-day notice. That could be your inner authority tool. So basically, what I'm speaking to is we all have our inner authority, and the more that we get to exercise this inner authority, the stronger it gets. So these tools that we have at our disposal, they get to strengthen our ability to do so, and we get to actually practice, the process of activating our inner authority. So it could be through a myriad of ways. And I encourage you right now to really sit with it. Like, what are the tools at my disposal of working with inner authority? What specific tools do I already have, or can I invest in, or can I resource to really activate this inner authority? So right now, for example, this video is my own expression of my inner authority with the teachings that I'm here to share. And I've created this opportunity, and I've connected to the amazing women that are part of this and that are creating this as a means of accessing that inner authority to support you in accessing your inner authority. So that is something that is really crucial. As we're learning to become and build our sovereignty, we have all these resources available to us, and we can use those resources to give our power away and to not feel so certain and grounded and comfortable, or we can actually use them to deepen our inner power, and our inner choice point, and our resources are then going into our inner authority building. So I'm going to wrap up this video, but I feel like today we've explored so many different aspects of how our sovereignty, how our inner authority gets influenced by the world, how it gets shaped, what it is that's true for us, and then what tools do we have that are at our disposal to really nurture that inner authority. So we're going to move on to the third video, and thank you so much for staying tuned with me. See you at number 3.